Yeah, I have started one more series, right, on core Java interview questions. Right. On each topic, I will post what are the interview questions we'll ask. Right. We will expect what are the interview questions. Right. From the basic level onwards, we will go through advanced level on each topic. That will start today. We'll start with the interview questions on data types. Right. In this, what are the basic questions? What are data types in Java? Right. What are data types in Java? Data types in Java specify the type of values variable can hold. Data types means what? Data type that will hold, we can store the data by using a data types. We can store the different types of data of different size. There are mainly two types of data types: primitive, non-primitive. Right, primitive byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These are all primitive data types. And a non-primitive string array classes interface. This is a simple question. What are the 8 primitive data types in Java? Right. We have a byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. We have a integer data types. What are integer data types? Byte, short, int, long, and a decimal, float, double, char. Right. Non-numeric data types, char and boolean. Here byte sometimes interviewer maybe ask what is the right how much size it will take when we create a data type. Right, we can remember easily. We have to follow the same order. Byte 8-bit. Right, 8-bit equal to 8-bit equal to 1 byte. Right, 1 byte equal to 8 bits. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. Here, what is the range? 8 bits means minus to 128 to 120. We can store only from 128 to 127 byte. We can also remember, right, like 2's complement, right? 2 to the power of 8 means we have to give 7. 2 power minus 2 power 7 to plus 2 power 7 plus minus 1. Right, 8 bit means we have to decrease 1 and minus 2 power 7 to plus 2 power 7 minus. Right, short 16 bits. That means double of byte. Int 32 bit, double of short. Long 64 bits, double of that integer. Byte, short, int, long. If you remember this, we can easily remember this memory also. 8 bit, 16, 32, 16. Float 32 bit. It will allow single precision floating point, double 64 bit, double precision floating point. Character 60 bit Unicode. We can store only single character. Boolean either true or false. We can store. Right, Boolean will take 1 bit of memory. Right, 1 bit of memory. So just a true or false it will store. Next interview question: what is the default values of the primitive data types? Right, primitive data types. If we don't, when we create integer, suppose integer ID equal integer ID semicolon. I did not assign any value. Then every primitive type will have a default value. Integer types will have 0. Integer types byte, short, int, long or integer types. These will store default value 0. If you don't assign any value, it will store as 0. Float, double. These are decimal points. It will store 0.0. Character, it will store the Unicode character. /u 000. It is equivalent to ASCII 0 in the ASCII code. Right. But if you print right in memory, what it will store? It will, if you don't assign any value, it will store just a empty. That's it. If you print the character, we will get a empty. It will print empty only. That Boolean false, by default value false. What is the difference between float and double? Right. Float and double. Float is a 32-bit. It will occupy 32 bits in the memory. Single precision floating point. And double is a 64-bit double precision floating point number. Alright. Double is more precise than float in general preferred for decimal. While creating decimal values, we will choose mostly double value. Right. If we declare float value, we have to explicitly tell we have to give the float. By default, it will take, if we create it will take as a double. If you want to tell to the compiler it is a float, we have to give the F. Alright, the next question is that is all. Why do we use, next intro question, why do we use L for long, F for float? Right, in Java, integer literals are int by default. So to specify long, we use L. By default, if we create any, that if you want to store the number, it will compiler will take as a number by default integer. So we have to tell to the compiler it is not an integer, it is a long. So we will use L. Similarly, while creating the floating point literals, by default it will take a double. It will take a double. If you want to tell to the compiler I want to store float, then we will give after number we have to give F, so that we are telling to the compiler it is a float. Right. Then advanced questions. Then next question is what is typecasting in Java? Right. Typecasting is converting one data type to another data types. We have two types of typecasting. One is implicit, one is explicit. Another one is implicit means widening. That means we are converting smaller to larger. That means int to long, right? Byte to short, short to double, right? Smaller data type to larger data type. That is called implicit casting or widening. Int to long, long to float, float to double. Explicit means narrowing, larger to smaller. That means double to float, float to long, long to int. Right, implicit casting, explicit. Implicit casting also called as widening. Explicit cast also called as narrowing. Suppose if you take an example, I have an integer number equal to 10. Now we can do implicit widening. That means we are assigning smaller data type to larger data type, double. Similarly, I have created double. Similarly, double. I am assigning smaller value to larger value to smaller data type. Then we have to typecast it. Whenever we are doing explicit casting, we are decreasing the scope, that is double to integer. So we have to typecast from which double to integer. So we have to typecast it to integer. We must be very careful while doing explicit because we are converting double to int. So decimal points will not be stored, right? Integer only it will store integer, that's it, 10. 0.5 it will remove it. So we must be very careful while doing explicit casting. Right. Next question. What is the difference between primitive and non-primitive data types? Primitive data types will store directly value. Non-primitive types will store references. In the memory, whenever we are storing into some ID equal to 10, then directly in the memory it will store value. But for non-primitive, like string, wrapper classes, for these it will store as a reference value. Primitive types are faster, more and memory efficient, while non-primitive types allow more functionality. That means a string if we take, there is a more functionality. Operations we can do more for non-primitive types. For example, primitive int equal to 10, for non-primitive string str equal to. And what is the size of the int? Right, we already know 4 bytes, that is 32 bits. What is the size of the character? 2 bytes, that is 16 bits. Right. Can we use underscore in a numeric literals in Java? Yes. Java allows underscores to improve readability in numeric letters. We can store like this int number that is same as and double pi. Right, it will allow. Right, what is the difference between string and character? Is a primitive data type that holds single character only. But string is non-primitive that holds a sequence of characters. We can store in the string sequence of characters. Why is string immutable in Java? Right. Why string is immutable in Java? String is immutable for security reasons and performance to improve the performance and memory optimization. Right. String is immutable for security, performance and memory optimization. And also, right, string s1 equal to Java. Why it is called immutable? Whenever we are trying to suppose s1 dot concat programming, I am trying to concat to this, but it will not change the s1. It will create a new object. Every time, if you try to modify the string, it will create a new object. It will not modify the existing data. Right, that is called immutability. Immutable means we cannot change the existing data. If we try to change, it will create a new one. Right, what happens if we assign larger type to smaller without casting? We will get a compile time error. Right, explicit casting. Right, how to do explicit casting means assigning bigger to smaller. I am created, see here created integer number equal to 10. I am directly assigning to byte. Right, we will get a type mismatch. We must explicit cast. We have to cast it to which data type of byte. We are storing in a byte, integer to byte, so we must tell explicitly. But implicit, right, smaller to larger, we no need. Already we have seen previous question, right? But only explicit, we have to tell explicitly typecast. Can Boolean be converted into int in Java? No, we cannot convert Boolean to the integer because Boolean will allow only either true false. Right. We cannot assign any numeric value to Boolean. Right. Next question. What is autoboxing and unboxing? Autoboxing is converting primitive type to wrapper classes. Right. Yeah, I think you are already aware of it. Wrapper classes means what? To store the object type of primitive. Right. I want a int, byte, short, long, 8 types of data types, primitive data types we have. If I want to store that int as a object type of integer, right? Then Java people introduced wrapper classes. For int, they have introduced integer, byte, short, long classes. For primitive types, they have introduced classes. Those called wrapper classes. Suppose if you take int number equal to 10, I am assigning primitive data type, that number variable is there, right? I am assigning this to integer wrapper class. That is called autoboxing, converting primitive type to wrapper class is called a autobox. Unboxing means reverse, converting wrapper class to primitive. See, this is the wrapper class object. Integer object equal to 20. Then we are assigning that object to primitive type. Converting wrapper class to back to primitive is called a unboxing. Now what is the next question? What is the difference between int and integer in Java? Int is a primitive data type. It stores value directly. Integer is a wrapper class. Right. It is a wrapper class that allows objects and supports additional methods like parsing and toString. Integer is a wrapper class. Class means it will have some methods. Right. Parsing and toStrings are methods. Right. How do you convert? Next question is how do you convert string to int? Right. I have a string variable which holds the string type of integer. Integer we are storing in a as form of string. If we give double quotes, inside double quotes any number, that is a string type. Right. I want to convert it to direct. I want to convert it to string type to integer. Right. Integer dot parseInt. Right. Wrapper class we have integer dot parseInt. We can pass the str. It will change to integer. It will return the integer number, integer form of number. Suppose if it is a ABC characters, we cannot use integer dot parseInt. That is a string. Right, characters. We cannot do parseInt. We will get a right number format text. Right, we cannot only in the form of string, integer in the form of string. Then only we will parse it. Integer dot parse it. We can get the number. Then what is the difference between static and dynamic typing? Static typing will allow Java and C++ are static typing languages because data types are checked at compile time. Right, whenever we are writing data types, right, it will verify at a compile time itself. But a dynamic typing, Python and JavaScript data types are at runtime. Suppose if you create any variables in Python, it will not verify at compile time. It will verify at runtime. That is called dynamic typing. What is the role of the where keyword in Java? I think a lot of people don't aware of it. Right. This was where keyword is introduced in Java 10. If you are using JDK 8, JDK 9, you will not get it. From JDK 10 onwards, we have a new keyword called where. That means in the where we can store any type of data, either integer or string or boolean or objects. We can store any type. Based on what type of data we will store, this where refers to that data. If I store where number equal to 10, it is integer type, then compiler, it will treat as a integer variable, integer data type. If I store string, compiler will treat as a string data. Right, compiler will automatically know based on the data what data we will store. Next question: Can we store null in primitive data? Right, primitive data types will have already default values. Right, that is not a primitive or not classes. Right, only classes will allow to store null. Primitive data types will not allow null value. So no, primitive types cannot store null. Only non-primitive like integer, wrapper classes and string class will allow objects. Only classes will allow to store null. Right. These are the some of the interview questions we can expect from the interviewer on data types concept. In the next session, we will take next topic and we will see the interview questions. Right. Thanks for watching.